Hi guys, I see some valid comments that I want to address instead of just going one by one, so I can just move on. And it's about any perceived backstabbing or switching up my defense. That's not the case. I would have kept my LA issues between myself and my fake employer. If it weren't for when I shared my story, if I didn't get like 20 emails from supporters of this man's ex-wife, people who were very kind to me, mostly family-oriented people. I'll share some of the screenshots of the emails, but people telling me kind of that I had a duty to help this lady because her kids were in danger. They knew that she was not, super accessible. She doesn't trust a lot of people, obviously, which makes sense. But hey, this lady's not super accessible, but we're telling you her on her behalf as her fans that this lady needs help. You seem to have information that could help. And that's kind of when I'm like, you know what? I took that as a sign. I'm like, I did do something that I did not want to do. I allowed myself to be used as a pawn to deliver. And it wasn't a huge move if this restraining order was going to be given anyway. But I allowed myself to be forced into a position where I didn't have an alternate place to live, and I did, on this man's behalf, hand this lady a piece of paper and walk away. I was not proud of it. I was not happy about it, and so I thought I listened to what her fans were saying, and I'm like, you know what? People are right. I see a pathway here for me to undo that negative karma, because again, I do have free will. I could have not given it, but it would have sped up my timeline of being displaced, not having a home. And I'm like, so at the time, it was not feasible for me, and I would try to find someone else to do it. It was not feasible for me to say no and just be homeless just like that in one day, because it was a very last minute manipulative ask, very last minute granting from this court. So I'm like, I didn't want to be involved, but since I did get involved, I did allow myself to hand this piece of paper and do something that my spirit was against. I'm like, I'm gonna hear this lady's fans out. I'm gonna read these messages. Like, people are pouring their heart out in support of this lady, and I'm like, you know what? Fine. I allowed myself to be a pawn on behalf of this man. I want to extend my genuine, female support to this lady and allow her to get back at her ex. He did a low down dirty move. So I'm like, you know what? I do have information that could help you get full custody of your kids. Happy to just give it to you. So that's what I did. Like, her fans, sent me her contact information, all this stuff. So I'm like, any negative thing that I've said now is because I had no idea that this lady maybe did not want the information or did not see my support as helpful, or just kind of didn't want me to be another voice in the crowd talking bad about her ex-man. But so just to clarify, what I was doing online when I was making fun of Justin was me just kind of biding my time, waiting for this lady to, see this email and just take me up on my offer. I had no idea that she blocked me. I had no idea that she had an issue with me. So yeah, I was, offended, turned off, and I'm like, oh, never mind. Let me take several steps back. Oh, because this is not my lane. Had I known that this was unwanted, I wouldn't have posted any of it. But I'm like, it is what it is. But I'm like, I felt like it was a very bold statement to call that man a fantastic father. And I'm like, okay, if that is, I'm not in that relationship. There's only two people in that relationship. There's two people responsible for those kids, right? So I'm like, okay, she thinks he's a great father. My bad. Clearly, I missaw the things that I saw. I'm not needed here. And my feelings were as a, just for my own inner child, someone who can relate to having, she had a good dad. What? She doesn't know what father wounds are. So that's my thing. So somebody who knows what it's going to be like for little black girls who grow up seeing black women be used interchangeably in that house. Like, that is a situation that fortunately she has not experienced, and I'm happy that she has not had experienced that. But my point is that I'm like, it's very much not fair to these little girls who have to grow up with a white dad who hates black people. Like, that's literally all it is, or who does not respect black women. And I'm like, my whole point is that unlimited access to program these girls with this thinking every other week. And I'm like, if you're going to sit up here and say that he's a good dad while I'm witnessing him program these girls to hate them or to not respect black women, then I'm like, okay. Objectively, now, I'm, as someone who's not in the situation, as a black woman who's just an observer now, yes, I do feel, fuck you. It's bad for the black race. It's bad for the self-esteem of any young black girls. And it's irresponsible. That's all it is. It's not me trying to be a hater. It's not me trying to insert myself in the situation. I'm happy to exit as I did exit, and now I'm seeing all these comments from videos I made last week or something. Whatever. I'm not the one who made the statement. I didn't bring, when you bring children into the world, you incur a debt to show them respect and to have them raised in the best standards possible. That's not happening right now, because all it is about is who has a right to have their kids online. And that's fucked up. Again, these were not DMs. People found my personal email address and contacted me, pouring their hearts and souls out, talking about, hi, this is how I relate to Anita. I've been following her story for all these years. You know, I know what she's gone through. Like, she, you know, this is something that will help her just put an end to the cycle that she's in, that this man enables. And so for me, I'm like, I am a fan of ending toxic, miserable cycles. So it's not me changing a surface level opinion of, oh, I like this lady, I'm a fan, and no, just kidding, I don't like her. No, it's not that surface level. It's me being like, I was indifferent towards this lady early on when this man was trying to convince me that she was an unfit mother. I did not want to be involved or see anything, but he showed me one post that did stand out as odd to me and struck a chord. And I'm like, okay, maybe, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm like, okay, maybe there is some truth. Maybe this man is not lying about everything, because it was some posts of her, you know, dancing, showing her body, being a beautiful woman, but her daughters were in the video. And the caption was, hey, should I start an OnlyFans? And I'm like, yeah. You know, it's like, it's not easy to root for everybody. You know, I want to be a girl's girl. I want women to win. But I'm like, objectively, and I saw all the comments were like, people were, you know, like, ha ha ha, you know, funny, nice, beautiful, your daughters love you so much, were all the comments. But I'm like, okay, not a lot of people were commenting saying that they saw anything that could be a red flag. And my thing is, if the whole issue is this man is exposing his kids to inappropriate sexual themes, if that makes him you know, I think that is what primarily makes him an unfit parent. I can't close my eyes and just pretend that this is not happening. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to hold out. I will hold out this information for this lady. And I'm going to wait till we have one conversation so I can get an idea of this person's spirit and this person's, and who this person is, because social media is just, it's just external. It's just a platform and self-expression. But I'm like, this is a bad look. I'm like, this is something that is a bit, you know, difficult to explain, because I'm like, it looks like, you know, you can post that caption on any other video, but not something with your kids in it. And that's the whole thing, is the people, you know, the whole drama on both sides is people on the internet talking about, hey, your kids don't need to be exposed to these adult themes and concepts, or kind of overly exposed to the internet. So I'm like, I can't ignore that. I'm like, that person had free will and she posted that, right? And these are her kids. So I'm like, okay, but still, just to balance out the scales, I'm going to offer the information I have that would definitely win this lady custody, right? She didn't want it. She blocked me. And so when she came out and made a video that I didn't even see, you know, her biggest fans sent me it, like, oh, this is what's happening now. She's, you know, yelling at everybody or upset at everybody. So again, it's easy for people in this to get polarized, and it just seems to be the back and forth between both fan bases are, no, this person's a better parent than that parent. It's like the bar is so, it just continues to be lower. Like, well, you know, the baby A was running around with a knife on this person's live, but it was a plastic knife in this live, but it was a metal knife in dad's house. Like, it's just, I'm like, it's bad both ways. So that was my thing. And I'm like, I was very scared that this was a situation where, like, choosing, like, it was like the election between Joe Biden and Trump. And that's what I told old boy too. I'm like, that's how I feel about the parents involved in this. And I don't want to have any opinion. I'm not trying to, you know, I don't know if I don't know if I'm on either side, because there are things that both people are doing that are, you know, not 100% the best, because, like, there's thousands of studies and books at this point that tell you that, you know, kids should not be exposed to social media before a certain age. iPad usage before a certain age creates sort of, you know, just dependencies. Children's brains are not formed enough for these things that they're being exposed to. So I'm like, objectively speaking, through research and through being an educator, I'm like, I know that having kids on the internet is not for the best, right? So I'm like, I'm not going to ignore, like, even though I think that Justin is a bad dad and I've seen him be negligent, I'm like, I still maintain that I'm like, I don't know what's going on at their mom's house, so I'm not going to blindly just support. I'm like, oh, I'm a fan. Yes, I still stand by everything I said. Yes, I do think she's a baddie. I do think her ex is, you know, is obsessed with her, and I do think that she, you know, has been the trendsetter in that man's life. And I'm like, there is still a feminist element where I'm like, you know, I appreciate the things that she's done in music and stuff, but I'm like, that is still an inappropriate thing to do with one's child. So I'm like, when she made that other comment about, like, how that man's a good dad, it triggered me, as someone who was raised by a father who was, like, sexually inappropriate, just always chasing women, just never content with himself, and kind of exposing his kids to age inappropriate situations. And as an adult, I broke up with my own mom for 2 years. I'm like, the boundaries that I have are not that's just for, for a celebrity. I'm like, I've had the same issue with my own mother where I'm like, you know what, as an adult, she tried to defend, she's like, oh, I did my best, blah, blah, blah. And then she tried to make an excuse for my dad. And I'm like, you know what? I gave you a lot of grace as a mother, but once you come and make an excuse for the father, which I'm like, you have, like, women, we have, what is it? We have free will. I'm like, you know what? Did my mom have an opportunity to minimize the stress and trauma that she put her children through, mainly her daughters? So yeah, making an excuse for my dad who exposed us to these really inappropriate things and that led to trauma in dating as an adult, like, fears that I have as an adult or insecurities I have in the dating world as an adult. I'm like, okay, it's one thing for me to forgive you, but you can't give the dad a pass as well after, like, my mom, her whole life, everybody in our neighborhood knew that she complained that our dad was like an unhelpful dad or just unsupportive, abusive, all of these things. But at the end of the day, she did have 4 kids with him. My mom got her citizenship before she even had 1 kid, right? So it's a certain point where it's like, did this person realistically do what they could have done to minimize the damage to the children that they brought into this world? And that's the only question for me. And for my mom, unfortunately, the answer was no, because and I know she was codependent. She was too scared to leave. And so she forced us to be in close quarters with an abusive dad for years. And she could have ended the suffering earlier, but she chose not to, and she chose to have more children. My point was also the same thing where I'm like, her fans were circulating the video of like, I guess when she was pregnant or had just had June, right? And this man was being disgusting to her at this table, trying to, mock her for not wanting to eat a food or certain cravings. And I'm like, okay, did this woman who now has resources, did she try to cut things off right then, or did she stick it out and have a second child and bring a second person into the misery? And now this man gets to brag and be like, oh, I had this baby on purpose, and saying all these disgusting things. And I'm like, this is harmful to the children. I'm like, so at a certain point, I'm like, it's not just, am I a hater on a singer? Or do I, is this just a surface level, like, ooh, I'm just trying to start drama? I'm like, no, I'm disappointed. I don't care if people think I don't have a right to be disappointed, but as somebody who did take care of those kids for 7 months, half a year, I am disappointed because I thought I was helping them land in a better home permanently. And I'm like, that does not appear to be the case if the mindset is not there and somebody's making excuses for their bad ex-husband. That's all it is. And I think people have said she's, apologized now, she was overwhelmed. But I was overwhelmed from emails from her fans, which is why I got involved in the first place. So I think instead of being upset at me, I think it's like, reflect and be upset at yourselves for being reactionary and for, maybe I should not have let myself get polarized by these, very deeply concerned emails, I think similar to the ones that you guys sent her. Maybe I shouldn't have gotten involved at all. And that's, that's for me to learn and move on from. But you're not going to paint me as just like someone who's, we have an ex in common and I'm just trying to tear down another woman, because that's definitely not the